It should be a good match. Hurricane, everyone knows him. He's never quite broken into the upper tiers, but he's always been a good player. And Zoun, I think a lot of people have been following him because he kind of is one of those people who's threatening to mix things up, get rid of the natural order of things, and he's getting better and better as time goes on. I was really pleased to see that Alpha X had picked him up, so I'm really looking forward to it. I believe he won one of the ESLs, yeah, against Time in the finals.
Ah, thank you. I'm muted. Ah, God, guys. Sorry, I'm a little bit rusty. I haven't casted in a little while, so you're gonna have to bear with me as I as I pick up the slack. So, hey guys, if there's any technical errors, it's completely on me. So, please. Please feel free to shut that out. So my name is Nancy. I'm joined here with Selman. Need to up. Oh yeah, we need to up Selman's volume. It's cool. I was asked to kind of just jump in this one. So I mean, where I lack in expertise, I will come with charm.
Alright, let's check the volume. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Alright. But anyway, I'm really looking forward to this PvP. Protoss vs Protoss is one of those ones where like all of the rules kind of just get thrown out the window, and it's just like, you know what? There is no honor. There is no like we should play this way and set the ground rules like this. It's like, no, I'm proxying you. I've got Dark Templar in your base. It's gonna get real ugly, real quiet.
Well, if the game manages to stabilize on 3 bases or so, it does tend to become a fairly standardized affair, but that's so
Oh my God.
rarely happens. You see so many matches that are either 1 base proxies where one player gets an advantage, or there's just they stay on 2 base for like 12 minutes because anyone who tries to take a third is going to be at risk of being killed by a +2 timing.
That's definitely for sure. It's one of those one. It's a weird matchup where like DC like it's a bad thing to macro. It's like if you macro, it's like, well, I'm just gonna kill you now.
It's basically, it reminds me a lot of like early ZVZ, where you wanted to have like 2 to 4 more drones than your opponent, because if you had 6 to 8 more drones than your opponent, he was about to kill you with units.
Yeah. I remember when I was first getting into StarCraft, there was a really early Team Liquid post, and it was talking about kind of how many workers you should have. Because the idea is you should always have more than your opponent, but if you have too much more than your opponent, then you're invested away from army, and you're leaving yourself a little bit vulnerable. So like the idea was you only ever really want to be like 1 base, like 8 drones ahead of your opponent, which is like half a base. But then, like, as StarCraft became more and more refined, that kind of got, like, a lot closer until it gets to a point where it's like, oh, you made 3 more probes than me? You really invested into 3 more probes? Like, I got an extra stalker, man. I'm gonna come kill you. Anyway, oh, I'm in charge of making the maps. Oh, good God, I don't know why people put me in charge of things, but we'll go with it. It's okay. I also got to pick the first map. I have too much power. I'm a diabolical tyrant is what I am. And I chose Triton because Triton is a small map. I just want to see these guys murder each other. I mean, is that too much to ask?
I think we're going to see that happen a few times. It's a best of 9 in PvP. There's no way these people are going to play standard unless they've already talked before the match, every game, unless they've talked before the match and have just agreed to mess with us here in the audience. There's going to be some proxies on both sides. You don't win a best of 9 PvP without mixing it up.
No, for sure.
Question is...
Yeah, the last thing we're going to see is like, well, actually, we're going to macro. And everything we've said is just invalid.
The thing is, there's kind of 2 schools of thought when it comes to these series, right? the first thought is, well, let's spend the first game to sort of feel our opponent out, you know, see how they're playing on that particular day, see how I feel in a macro game. And the second one is, hey, my opponent's not used to the rhythm of the series yet, let's really throw a wrench in the gears right away. Me, I always tended towards the second one, even though I tend to macro a lot on ladder.
All right. I mean, we could yarn all day, but both the players want to go. Are we all good to go? Is everyone ready?
So I'm looking forward to seeing, you know, what these players want to do in game one, because I think that's really going to set the tone for the series. Do they feel like testing each other out, or do they feel like, well, I guess testing each other in a more direct way by going for those aggressive plays?
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's a question.
Exactly.
Well,
I mean,
just our players first.
There's a lot of information to be gained from how they're going to play early in the series. And they may just use it for a tempo swing. Do they try to get the early win, the early cheese, to put their opponent down a map?
You want to do the first intro or the second?
I'll do the first. I'll take the. This is planning. I like it. You've got some strategy. That's some real time strategy right there. I just threw you in the call, and I'm just like, just deal with it, man. I'm cheesing you.
I have done this before.
Alright, here we are, spawning on in the top left-hand corner. The blue Protoss with Alpha X, it is Zoun. Oh no, my zoom button is... Ah, yes, there we go. Go, it's all coming back to me.
And in the bottom right, representing the red Protoss, who I'm sure have a great religious dispute with the blue Protoss going on for thousands of years, it is BSG Hurricane.
Hurricane is a really good player. I have had the pleasure of casting Hurricane before.
Oh, when was that?
Oh, it was a little while ago. I'm just going to adjust my sound. Here we go. Lovely stuff. And I think it was like it was when it was Hurricane and who was it? Solar. Like when Solar was really in his prime. When people were like starting to go like, oh my god, is Solar just going to wreck noobs?
Oh wow, was this an APS or?
It was like GSL. People were starting to go like, this was like late last year.
No, what I mean is, did you get to cast him in an Alpha Pro series, or was it another event that you got to cast him in?
God, I actually casted him in a whole bunch of stuff. He was just doing really well at the time. Like he was just Solar was just everywhere. And Hurricane was one of those guys who was not afraid to just go into the macro game. But I mean, hey, the macro game doesn't really come into play in PvP all too often.
So it looks like we're going to see a fairly standard tactic in PvP, which just goes to show you how weird this match is. The fake proxy pylon from Zoun. You see that second pylon is a big tell if someone's proxying or not, and eventually Protoss has realized that, and we're just like, well, why don't we just put our second pylon outside of our base all the time so they can't tell what we're doing? And Zoun has been doing that, is going to be doing that now. And we are going to see a very, very fast Robo coming up from Hurricane, though it will be at home. He's going to get a couple of Adepts, while Stalkers are the choice for Zoun. So it'll be interesting to see how this develops. Hurricane's going to try and get some early damage with the Adept, some harass, while the Stalker's going to have more map control, more ability to do a frontal push if that's what they want, if they can push the Adepts away. And we'll have to see what tech Zoun wants to do. He's not going for that initial sentry, so he's not going to know what tech Hurricane's going for, but he does know about the Adepts coming out first. He's going to go for more Stalkers. And
general,
a Robo of his own.
I think in general, like, the Robo is like the safe opener. Like, if I want a macro, I'm going to open Robo. Because Robo, you get the Observers, you get the Immortals, which are really good against the Stalkers. It's when you start going for things like Stargate, where it's a bit more vulnerable, and DT, which is just going out there. You know, Robo's like, I want to play a normal game.
I agree, yeah. Stargate can definitely be played macro-wise, but Robo is definitely the safe macro opener. It's the one that says, I don't want to do really anything else, unless you're going for a 3-gate Robo, I suppose, which can also work. But neither of these players getting a third gate, though. We are going to see some early Warp Prism harass by Zoun. I think he's going to just try and drop these two Adepts out from the Warp Prism, and if he can control the Warp Prism well, there's really not a lot that Zoun can actually do against that. unless he can snipe the Warp Prism or at least force it away. So it's going to be a little bit of a battle of the Stalker positioning versus the Adepts. The Adepts are going to try and snipe some probes and then get away. The Adepts are never going to die unless the Warp Prism is sniped. Oh, but actually, these Stalkers are out looking for something, but they do not find it. The Adepts are going to get into this main base. They could even get on top of these sentries if Hurricane notices, but then there will be an Immortal there to help guard them as well. But these 4 Stalkers could do a decent amount at home, and an Immortal is on the way with 2 sentries and 2 Stalkers. I think Hurricane will be able to hold for a bit, but here we go. 2 probes going down, and he's going to cancel the shade and just continue to attack. He's not quite positioning the Adepts right, but there he goes, and he gets 6 probes in total, though he will lose one of the Adepts, but even so, 6 probes for an Adept. Excellent move early on, but now Zoun really needs to get something done here, but oh, the Force Field gets a Stalker for free, and things have gone from bad for worse. And another Force, oh, that is a beautiful Force Field right there, trapping yet another Stalker, and here comes the Immortal out just to add insult to injury. These Stalkers are going to do absolutely nothing, and the Adepts are still being warped in on the other side of the map. As this Warp Prism, with no Stalkers on the other side of the map for Zoun, is completely uncontestable.
Yeah, Hurricane just surgical there with the Adepts. He's able to find 6 drone probe kills right off the bat. And Zoun's attack just gets absolutely shut down. I mean, the sentries are just such a great defensive tool.
Yeah, he's now following the Warp Prism around with his own Warp Prism, so this is not going to get a lot more damage done. But at the same time, I mean, the damage has already been done. 9 probes, 15 supply up for Hurricane. This is looking really good for him.
Absolutely. I mean, at this point, Hurricane, he can just play a nice, comfortable defensive game, and the onus is on Zoun. Zoun needs to make the decision. He needs to force some kind of mistake out of Hurricane, because if he sits back, he's just going to have a smaller army with a lower economy.
Well, he's going for the Warp Prism, though, and he's getting some serious damage on it. He doesn't quite kill it, but he is going to trap these Adepts, force the recall of the Warp Prism, so that is good. He at least avoids anything worse happening to him other than losing a couple more probes, but he does get those Adepts, which is nice. It means he can now move out. And he's gone for a Twilight Council, which is interesting. I wonder if we might actually see... Glaives. I was thinking, it doesn't make sense for Zoun to go for a Twilight Council here, because he is the one who's going to lose in a long game. But if you're going for a Glaives push, that just might work. In the meantime, Zoun getting some more damage done of his own on the other side of the map, but that Immortal just barely survives. 3 probes down, but he loses a lot of health on that Immortal, which he is going to want for the attack. In the meantime, Hurricane's going out for a bit of pressure. I don't think this is really going to do much unless some good force fields come down for Hurricane. I think he's just getting some map control. He's going to find this proxy pylon, going to take that out. Just a little bit of map vision denial. Forge and Twilight coming up for Hurricane, but I don't think that any of that's going to finish in time for this attack. 4 gates coming up for Zoun. I think we'll see we do already have a Warp Prism, so I think that's going to be used to try and make some reinforcements, but at the same time, Hurricane's Warp Prism is on Zoun's like a tick on another tick. I'm not really sure where I was going with that.
My God.
5 gates come down, and the Phoenix will notice. The Phoenix, that is a beautiful scout. That is an extremely important one. He sees the Twilight Council, he sees the 5 gates, he sees no Forge. That means he pretty much knows almost exactly what's happening. It's either this or charge lots, but either way, the reaction is very close to the same. Make more gates, get as many units as possible, and invest in the right now, and probably put up some shield batteries as well.
Now, Hurricane has invested into some upgrades, but they're not going to pay off during this fight. But does it even matter? I mean, he's got the higher army supply, the higher worker supply. If he just holds on, it's just game, right?
But this warp in is going to be huge, though. Yes, I think it is just about game if he holds, but at the same time, I think there might be a little too much invested. There's the Twilight Council, there's a lot of cannons and shield batteries, but they're not finished yet. This is a lot of money invested in things that are not going to pay off immediately, and here come the Adepts, shading all over everything. The Immortals come forward, one of them does get sniped, but the other one is still alive. Oh my God, that is so many Immortals from Hurricane. I did not realize he had that many on the other side of the map. Another warp in of Adepts are coming in, and this is actually very close, and Zoun is actually getting the supply advantage. But the shield batteries and cannons are finishing just in time. Well, the Immortal does go down, though, and actually I think that Zoun might just have it, but no. The cannons and shield batteries finish in the nick of time, and this is such a close fight. These Adepts are going to try and get in the main and get some economic damage done to try and even things out. And Zoun might have actually gotten himself back into this game, though he still does not have A+1, which is going to really hurt him. But Hurricane's down to 30 workers now. This is actually really good for Zoun. Zoun has perhaps seized, not necessarily victory, but at least a chance out of the jaws of defeat. But he's going to be charged and Immortals against the Adepts. So while Zoun has the economic lead, Hurricane definitely has the tech advantage. So we're going to have to see where this goes. Hurricane needs to do a counter-attack. 19 crews went down in that attack. This is PvP. 8.5 minutes in, 60 supply for both players. This is what we wanted. This is how we wanted this match to go.
I mean, PvP, it's more counted in how many workers died than how many workers you actually have.
And we do have 2 immortals in a prism for Hurricane, but all of those units, including the prism, are very low. So this may have some difficulty actually getting some damage done because Zoun is in position. Will Hurricane...
Now, there is no blink, so he can't punish this. And 2 immortals, they can just rip through stalkers and most gateway units.
More stalkers walking in, but at the same time, it just does not seem to matter. Several stalkers do go down for Zoun, but with these stalkers, he's going to try and snipe the warp prism, and he's getting very close. It's only got 2 shots to survive, but the micro is just amazing.
Oh, wow.
Is he even going to cancel that? I think he is. Oh, that is so greedy, I think, but that's it. Oh, it doesn't pay off, but he still keeps the units alive. Oh my, Hurricane's micro is incredible. That just doesn't even look fair.
In a way, I almost think it was more Hurricane's mistake. Zoun's mistake. Like, Hurricane obviously is forcing incredible trades with the micro, but Zoun shouldn't have been chasing. I mean, he doesn't have Blink, he doesn't have a Warp Prism. There's no way he's going to be able to kill the Warp Prism of Hurricane. And Hurricane is like, cool, yeah, man, I'll shoot your stalkers all day long.
At 18 health, may as well be 100 when you're microing it properly, and here comes Hurricane's attack. He's taken out a bunch of stalkers, he's got a bunch of charge lots, he's got archons, and his opponent really has just about nothing at all. It's 57 army supply to 25. I do not see Zoun coming back from this. How did Hurricane make so many units off so few workers? Some mysteries are not meant to be known by mortals.
Yeah, and this is the part where Zoun needs to drop his own static defense, but instead he's invested into this 3rd base, which it just keeps getting shut down here.
It actually finishes. I think that Zoun is busy trying to fight on the other side of the map, but the Warp Prism has gone down, and these charge lots will take out the Immortal and Stalker, so things go from bad to worse for Zoun, and in the meantime, Hurricane's going to finish his 3rd base. He has the advantage in pretty much everywhere now. He has +2 to +0, he's got the same amount of workers with better saturation with that 3rd base, and he's got double the army supply. This does not seem like a position that Zoun is going to win from.
It doesn't help that there was +2 this entire time. So not only did Hurricane have a larger army for most of that, but now he's got the upgrade lead. So even though Zoun has closed the distance in that way, this army's just going to fight better.
And here it comes, and the charge lots getting onto everything. The Archons themselves also doing tremendous damage, and everything's just going to drop. And GG is called, as Hurricane will take a very hard-fought game number 1.
Absolutely. I honestly, I don't know about you, but my butt clenched a little bit when Zoun's army, he shades in on top of the Immortals and the Stalkers of Hurricane, and it's like, oh my god, his army is dying, and the shield battery is just finishing time.
Yeah, that fight was so close. If Hurricane had not respected that push as much as he did with the 2 cannons, the 2 shield batteries, he absolutely would have lost. Right there.
All right. So that was game number 1. Hurricane takes the 1-game lead, but I mean, kind of the thing that you get really worried about is like when you have a top-tier Korean player in these best of 9s, you're like, oh god, is he just going to steamroll? But no, I mean, Zoun put up a really good fight.
I thought coming in this would probably be like a 5-2 or a 5-3 for Hurricane. As much as I do love Zoun and want to support Alpha X, Hurricane, he's got that pedigree, he's got that experience most of all. I think Zoun definitely has the potential to become that tier of player, but is he there yet? We will find out, I suppose, tonight. I would love to see Zoun pull off the upset, but I definitely don't think he's going to be, swept.
Yeah, absolutely. And if nothing else, it's fantastic experience. It's one thing to be able to practice your builds, to do ladder, but when there's a tournament, when there's a series that you have to play against a really good player, that's when the middle meets the road, so to speak. The rubber meets the road. The New Zealander finds the sheep. I mean, it's just that moment of trial.
It's a very different thing. You can't just, play on your own or play on ladder and become an amazing player. You really have to. The fiercest competitor is forged in the brightest flame. You have to compete. You have to become an excellent tournament player in order to win tournaments, and that's very different from being an excellent ladder player. as so many players have found out a lot over the years. You have players who have been amazing ladder players, been amazing in practice, and never quite brought that into reality. And then you have Cyril, who Cyril was only really achieved his ascendancy in like 2018, but he was being talked of as the next big thing for about 2 years before that.
Hmm.
He was never really able to put it into practice, and then all of a sudden things clicked, and suddenly we're like, "Who is this guy?"
Absolutely.
But
So, some people need
people have been
some
talking
like.
about him as a practice monster for years.
Exactly. I think you've actually hit something on the head there, Solid. Like, it's one of those things where like maybe you're not tournament ready. Maybe it does. You're a late bloomer. You're a late pro gamer. But it's being a good practice partner, being someone that people want to practice with, and being really good at practicing. In some ways, those are the players that mature really nicely, and that's how you do get your serials, right?
Yeah, definitely. And you also I've lost what I was going to say.
I mean, we started talking about Cyril, and it's just a slippery slope, mate.
Yeah, Cyril practice partners, etc. Oh, yeah, that's right. The Alpha Pro Series is an excellent proving ground for these
Yes.
kind of matches. They're not like GSL qualifiers. You're not as nervous, but at the same time, you are playing for something. You're playing in front of an audience. You're playing a long series with someone who might have been able to prepare for you, and you're playing for money. So it is actually an excellent sort of sort of a trial run for these bigger tournaments like the GSL qualifiers, which will be coming up.
Yeah, no, of course. But without further ado, spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, the blue Protoss representing Alpha X, it is Zoun.
And in the top right, barely holding off an Adept all in, getting a decisive advantage early on. Can he do it again? It is Bravestar Gaming's Hurricane. So one thing I would like to mention is that Hurricane got a very large advantage early on in that first game.
Yes.
And Zoun really almost did fight back. He was very close to winning that one. So it'll be interesting to see if these guys get into a mid game on a more even keel. Though that is a pretty big ask in PvP. How is Zoun going to fare? Because I think he absolutely has the ability to compete against Hurricane on an even footing. It's just that he was on the back foot from the start.
I mean, if we are going to theory craft a little bit here, Zolan, like, I just want to think, like, well, first of all, there was you posed an interesting problem last game. Like, Zoun came in and killed like 12, 14 probes, and basically Zoun was on 45 probes, and Hurricane went down to 22. But Hurricane still managed to build a larger army. Well, eventually Zoun caught up, but I had a feeling like there's almost an element where killing the workers doesn't immediately damage the economy. It actually it actually needs time for that damage to actually take effect. It's not the same way as killing an army immediately removes the army. Like, if they still have a bank, they still have the ability to remake an army. They still have the ability to counterattack. So it's an interesting kind of concept. I don't know if Zoun really wants to kind of play toe-to-toe. I think he kind of needs to mix things up. Like, if Hurricane's in his comfort zone, Zoun's just not going to be able to crack him.
Well, he's certainly mixing it up now. Proxy Stargate for game number 2 versus a Stargate of his own for Hurricane. So we again see mirrored tech buildings, but this time we will see a proxy from Zoun. So I'm almost certain this is going to be an Oracle from Zoun, but we'll have to see what Hurricane wants to do. There is already a shield battery going up for Hurricane. No, that's actually in the wall. So it is not at the mineral line, which is where he really needs it to be. Zoun is making adepts, but they're still very much on the other side of the map. I think that shield battery was meant to deny scouting more than anything else. But yes, the Oracle is being chrono boosted, and we have an Oracle chrono boosted for both players, and this is good for Zoun, because Zoun's Oracle is going to hit a lot faster than Hurricane's is, and then Zoun can even make a Phoenix if he sees this, or keep his Stalkers at home. And I think this could be definitely a chance for a big advantage from Zoun. I imagine that he's going to try and distract these Stalkers with the Adepts, and see what he can get done. They're actually going to get in too.
Oh, this could be quite a bit of damage. I mean, he is kind of now trapped in the base, but it's how much damage can he get done before they go down? 4 probes?
The only problem is he mistimed that a little bit. The Oracle came in just a tiny bit late. If he'd been able to bring that Oracle in 5 or 6 seconds later, he would have been in great spot. Still, he kills 5 probes, and let's not, let's not pretend Hurricane had nothing to do with this. His shield battery was timed to perfection.
Yep, absolutely. Now, you're a bit of a Protoss player yourself, this Eleventh. If you're in this kind of position, like, would you be making Phoenixes as Hurricane, or would you check into something else?
I would absolutely be going for Phoenixes because, for one, your opponent's already committed to a Stargate.
Yep.
So there's a pretty decent chance they're going to go for it themselves. Oh, say this is what actually does go down and actually blocks a Stalker and a few probes. Hurricane misjudging that just a tiny bit, but I would absolutely be going for that because Zoun's already committed to a Stargate. So he might be going Stargates and Phoenixes himself, in which case you have the advantage. And if he's not, well, your Phoenixes are still really good. Having like four Phoenixes or so is a very solid way to open a game, to get some damage, do some snipes. And Zoun has decided not to try and contest the Phoenix Wars. In fact, neither side really going into a lot of Phoenixes, as Hurricane's going into his Robo, Zoun's going into Blink. So again, Hurricane seems to have a little bit of an edge, but this time, as mentioned before, they will go into the 2 base on a roughly even keel. Hurricane's going to have the slightly faster base, but Zoun has a couple more workers. So overall, it's pretty even as we go into this. Although Hurricane does have the tech advantage in that he's going to have Immortals and Zoun's going to have Blink. And though this map is pretty good for Blink because you can get into the main base via that, like the 10 o'clock, or not the 1 o'clock sort of position. You can actually Blink on top to the main. From that position, so there is a lot of angles you can attack from and get some harassment damage done on Zen specifically. The Oracle tries to get what damage it can, but the Phoenix will take it down before that happens. Even a Stalker finding this Proxy Stargate as well, and Zoun's Proxy Stargate, well, they might stay alive for a little bit longer, or at least get a Stalker in revenge, as Zoun is sending his Stalkers out to take out this Stalker, who dares to be out on the map on his own, but I think that the Proxy Pylon will go down just in time. Oh, nope, he's running away with it.
Yeah, I almost wondered if that hallucinated Phoenix was actually to look for the army coming for the Stalker. Like, Hurricane knows that he's been a bit of a pest right now. Oh, he actually reveals Blink.
Yeah, he does get a Stalker, but does, as you say, have to reveal Blink for it. And now both sides on even workers. Hurricane getting his 2 guests a little bit faster, but +1 in charge now coming up a lot faster for Zoun than Hurricane. A bit of a reversal from last game. So overall, I like Zoun's position, but I don't know about this third. He's taking it very aggressively. Although there aren't many gates for Hurricane, the faster charge will be ready for Zoun, so I think he might be able to get away with it. And he does have the Blink Stalkers to punish any sort of move outs, which I think is the big sort of thing. So overall, Zoun is really... He may have the inferior tech in terms of a head-to-head fight, but he's taking advantage of that to the fullest and getting his faster third and making use of his mobility. I really like what Zoun's doing in this game.
Absolutely. And the Blink, in a way, it means if you move out, I can Blink into your base and deal damage. So it's kind of holding one hand behind Hurricane's back, and Zoun can use that to his advantage to try to catch up in economy.
That's right. And that is a really well-placed observer from Hurricane. It's going to be able to defend that third base from the Blink. You do not want that Blink to go in and be sniped. You've got the Phoenix on the 1 o'clock position and the Observer over there, so you basically can't surprise your opponent with those Blink Stalkers except by blinking past those minerals into the natural, and that is a really, really risky move, and I don't think that Zoun is going to want to do that.
Yeah, no, you don't want to lose any Stalkers right now. That's your only map presence.
Templar Archives coming up for both sides. A lot of gates from both sides as well, although Hurricane is going up to 8 gates, and I believe that Zoun is only on 6. But no, he's got the 8 gates, he just built a couple more a bit faster. +2 coming up for Zoun now, slightly faster than his opponent, and I think we may see a +2 timing. This is a pretty open map. It is definitely a map where +2 timing could be very potent. And +2 timing are just so good in this matchup. I think Zoun's going to try and take advantage of his lead in the next couple of minutes.
Okay. Why is +2 so important? Like more so than +1? Is it like the way that the units scale? Like, I'm actually not sure how that works.
Basically, there's a whole bunch of inflection points with +2 against +1. It comes down to how many shots it takes units to kill other units. There was a whole rundown on the forums about it a few months ago. Okay. Essentially, +1 is good, but +2 is like twice as good as +1 is.
Oh, really?
So the +2 to +1 advantage is actually a lot bigger than +1 to +0. And +3 is kind of okay, but it falls back in effectiveness. Because I think it's like... I'm just sort of making up these numbers, but it's like, imagine if Immortals kill Zealots in 18 shots with +0, 17 with +1, and 15 with +2. It's kind of like that,
Okay.
where that +2 is really the big one.
Right, so the power spike is in the +2. Man, I do like that you point out, Hurricane's observers. That low key is just something that he's doing really, really well in this series. Like, it's so easy to kind of neglect, but it's obvious when Zoun has, like, no observers.
Yeah, and now we see, these observers have again given him the reaction time to get in these shield batteries, and Zoun is going for the attack. He is going to have +2 faster. He's going to need a really good concave, though. There is a lot of shield batteries here. I think he might have not quite engaged perfectly, but at the same time, it's still pretty good, but there's so many shield batteries here. He wants to fight away from the shield batteries. All of the charge lots are going down for Hurricane, though, and there's still a few left for Zoun, but they're fighting back and forth in this tug of war, and overall, I think Hurricane is holding quite well. But there could be a warp in to turn the tides, but no, Hurricane just with the superior positioning is absolutely murdering this +2 timing of Zoun.
I also like Hurricane's composition a lot better. I mean, he's got the extra Archon, he's got 2 Immortals, and it just has so much more DPS. And the thing is, under the shield battery, there's just no way to kill this army with what Zoun has.
Yeah, I had not really noticed the lack of Immortals from Zoun, but it's definitely holding true here, and Hurricane just turns what seemed like a dangerous situation into an absolute rout, and even getting a 4th base as well, but I think he might just go for a counterattack and try and win here now that he has his own +2. Wow,
I love these sorts of moves here, Salvat. Like, it's like, it's your problem now. Like, it's like the win harder sort of strategy.
I love that about Astrea. I love that about Astrea. If you've ever seen him play, he takes like the fastest 4th bases known to man. He is just an absolutely insane when it comes to doing that. But yes, I agree. Hurricane is just really playing well. And that it comes back down to that observer again. That observer saw that push coming. He got the shield batteries up in time. He was fully prepared for it. Just such a little unit's expenditure of 75 gas, but it was just perfectly placed to defend against pretty much anything.
And he even used the Phoenix on the left-hand side as well, like anything he can to... Oh my god.
And Zoun's not going to get that 4th base just yet, and Hurricane's is nearly done. Here come a few charge lots, but there is a cannon and a bunch of shield batteries in that 3rd base. Good defense from Zoun. Zoun definitely has some good stuff in this match too. It is not just entirely the Hurricane show, and Zoun is making 2 forges? I don't know what's going on.
I think he's wanting to catch up because he lost his +3. He's like, well, I'm going to be down on an upgrade, but the only way to catch back up is to double down and go for 2 upgrades at a time. But it does give Hurricane a window where he can get some damage done with +3.
Did Zoun lose his forge at some point, though?
Yes, Hurricane just came in and sniped it in the back with the Spore Prism.
Ah, okay, that explains a lot. Yeah, getting the +3 ground and the +1 shield. So I guess Zoun is basically thinking, okay, I'm going to have to play for the very long game here. But at the same time, I think Hurricane's plan is just going to be, no, I'm just going to deny your 4th over and over again until you run out of resources after tap out. He's going for a robo base, so I think we'll see those disruptors pretty soon, which is another very strong thing, especially if you're the one with map control, because disruptors are at their best when you are in your opponent's face pretty much constantly.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Because like you said, you control the zone, and the disruptors. That's when the getting the big hits is actually easy. It's actually disgusting just how good a hit they can get.
Oh my! Hurricane just has so many Archons. And he's making more and more charge. He's got like a 30 supply. I think he's just going to go for it. He may as well. He's going to make this big concave. But again, this is the exact kind of position that Zoun attacked into and was punished for. So we'll see if that happens to Hurricane as well. But he is fighting away from his shield batteries, so that's not quite so good. And there's so many Zealots from Hurricane. There's just so many more. They're just swarming over everything. The meat shield is not there for Zoun as the Archons get on top of all the valuable Immortals and other units, and they just stand tall. The Zealots are dead for Hurricane now, but it's just too late. There's so many Archons. He's making more and more of them. The army of the Cotton Balls is pushing forward, and there is just nothing left for Zoun, and he's forced to GG out once again.
Yeah, I love the army of the Cotton Balls. It's kind of like the ape kind of like pumping out his chest, like trying to look bigger as like all the Archons in the back.
What kind of reminds me of is like gelatinous aliens from like, you know how you're shooting with bullets and it's just nothing's happening and then it just starts rolling towards you.
Yeah.
That's what
It's
Archons
the
are
blob.
like.
It's the blobs coming for you.
Exactly. It's like they're not that fast, they're not even that strong, but they just don't die.
Hmm.
They just keep coming at you. And then
I
eventually you just get engulfed.
that and a little bit of splash damage goes a long way.
Oh, yes, it does.
All right, so we got Hurricane now with two map wins, so he's got himself a little bit of a lead, and this is kind of like what we were saying at the start. Like, what happens when you have that map advantage? What kind of position does that put your opponent into? Like, what kind of stress does that put them under?
Oh, yeah.
Because you can start to
Archons are
second
just
guess
so
yourself.
good in a... Archons are just so good in a concave as well. I
Hmm.
mean, they're actually named after it.
Oh,
They're
really?
called Archons.
Oh, sure, I didn't know that. The more you know.
It's a pun, Nancy. They wouldn't name it after something so silly.
Oh, yes.
Hell, they probably... I'm pretty sure that they did that before, like, the idea of concaves even became a big thing in RTSs. Although,
It's
Warcraft 2 might have had that kind of thing.
It's these Protoss oh my god, this is his mind of a Zerg. Protoss big brain puns. I can't deal with it, man. It's too meta.
It's what we do.
Yeah.
That's why I'm here.
Me Zerg, me a move. All right, we're now jumping into Nightshade. Okay. What are your thoughts on Nightshade so far? For your experience.
I have actually not played a ton of Nightshade. But overall, I think it is definitely a map where you can definitely defend on. It is a map that that definitely could lead into a macro game. There's not really that... It's pretty easy to hold 3 bases, though pretty difficult to hold 4. We can discuss that a little further once the match starts.
Absolutely, and here we are spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, the red Protoss representing Alpha Rex. It is Zoun.
And turning his back on his religious beliefs and joining the hated blues instead. I don't know why he did that. He's already 2-0 up. Why is he changing things up? But let's see if it backfires on him. It is Brave Star Gaming's Hurricane.
Always hated that red color anyway.
Both sides turning traitor against their original color, mixing things up.
Maybe
We shall
Zoun
see
went
if
for
that-
red. Maybe he's like, maybe that's Hurricane's advantage. Maybe it's because of the red color.
Exactly.
There was actually a study done. When you have the color red as your character or as your side, you actually have a 51% win rate over blue.
Huh. I wonder if
There
that's
you go,
because
guys.
red is a more aggressive color and
Yeah.
blue tends to be more calming color.
Something like that.
Especially at lower levels of play, and in PvP for that matter, aggression wins games.
Yes, yes, it does. I mean, well, the Protoss is like aggression is the name of the game, and there's nothing off the table. There's nothing off the books. It's not like your Terran. It's not like a Zerg where it's like I actually want to play a macro game and have 5-6 bases. Protoss is like, what do you need those bases for, man? I'm gonna warp in your base.
Protoss units are just so good that if you don't have a lot of Protoss units at all times, you just die. Check the score, by the way, Nancy. Should be 2 at Hurricane.
Oh, my bad. I got ahead of myself. I mean, the game was so brutal. I mean, I nearly counted as 2.
It has already felt like several games have passed, just because of how many back and forth moments there are. Okay, so Zoun's going for the fake proxy once again, while Hurricane's not even bothering with that. Both of them, we're still going to wait and see exactly what tech they want to do, but neither of them going particularly wild in this game 3. I think Hurricane playing standard is a good move. Hurricane's like, it's just like that thing where you said in game 2 how you liked how it's your problem now when Hurricane took that 4th base. This whole series is like that. It's Zoun's problem now. I mean, Hurricane's doing just fine. He's happy to keep going the way things are going.
Absolutely, and he's in a winning position. He's like, why change it? And that's kind of what becomes a problem when you start falling behind in a best of 9, because now you start kind of doubting things that you thought you were good at. You might jump into the series and be like, man, I'm really good with Proxy Stargate, and then game 2 he shuts it down. You're like, oh god, am I good at Proxy Stargate? Do I know what I'm doing?
Yeah, you get that moment of if this is the best I've got, and that just got shut down. What the hell am I supposed to do?
Yeah, it's,
I've never played a best of 9, but I have played best of 7s, and it can definitely weigh on you.
absolutely.
But then we've seen, we've seen greater comebacks than this before.
That's true, and that's why we call it a best of 9. Players, you know, maybe Zoun can get into his rhythm. Maybe he can get really comfortable. But Hurricane's not going to let that happen. He's coming in.
Hurricane's going straight in for an attack. Oh, that sentry actually runs out of energy at exactly the wrong time. And this is going to be pretty nasty as an attack from Hurricane, although I think he's just going to get the shield battery and maybe the pylon, because now there is more stalkers here. But in the meantime, Hurricane is essentially scouting by attacking. He's forcing Zoun to show everything he has, because if Zoun had any tech hidden, then he wouldn't have had a hold against that attack without showing it.
Yeah,
So
and if
overall,
Zoun is starting to get a bit nervous, if he's starting to get a bit shaky, those sorts of move outs is Hurricane really flexing himself in this series.
Oh yeah, you can definitely, like, just give your opponent as many opportunities to make mistakes as possible. Solid way to play.
Interesting. Okay, so Zoun's going for the blink again. Not quite as good on this map, unless don't you think? Like the last map had the ground for it, right?
I agree, it's not quite as good, although there is still a way in. You can get around over near that third base, just to the left of that third base. You can blink up there, and there's actually a lot of ledge that you can do that in.
Okay.
So it's still an above-average map for blink, even if it's not quite as good. Well, even then, I think it might be around as good, because you don't have to move as far to get to the different ones. Like on Zen, Zoun never even really tried to use that upper area because it was just so far away from anything else he could attack. If he did that, he's basically, you know, Hurricane could sit back and take his toenails and clip his toenails in the time it takes those stalkers to get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Zoun is going for, he might catch this Warp Prism. This is absolutely huge, and he is going to snipe 2 adepts, probably a third. This is actually like probably the biggest victory that Zoun has gotten in this series so far, and he's taking a very fast third base. Zoun is mixing it up for sure. This is like, does he think he's playing PvT right now?
Yeah.
He's got the blink, he's got the +1, he's got the fast third base. This feels like he's forgotten that his opponent is actually playing Protoss. But it's working out because all the pressure that Hurricane had on the map that could have punished this is basically been destroyed now.
Yeah.
And Hurricane is actually going for his own blink and a Dark Shrine. I think he's seen that Zoun has not been making a lot of observers or a lot of immortals, and overall the team seems to have disdain for the concept of robotics facilities. And he's going to say, well, in that case, I'm going to make you pay for that.
Absolutely. No, that's actually a really good point. We haven't seen many
Zoun is
observers.
only just now getting his robo up. We'll see if he makes an observer. But, the Phoenix, did it spot the DT? It did not spot the Dark Shrine in that natural.
Oh, does he want to go up? Okay, he does.
He does. I wouldn't have thought he would, but he manages to make it work. He's getting sniping a little bit of stuff, seeing what's going on. Beautiful moves from Zoun, and now he's going to go for the natural. The real question is he going to see this Dark Shrine? Because that is so important. He's going to snipe another Stalker. Oh, he's really microing this well, actually. But at the same time, he's going after the Immortal. I don't know about this. This is really bold from Zoun, and it's not going to work out. Just barely fails to get that Immortal, and more importantly, he still has no idea about this Dark Shrine, which is now finishing. There is an observer on the way for him, though.
Yeah, that's very important. But where will it be? I mean, what I've noticed is Zoun likes to have the observer with the army, which is very different to Hurricane, where he puts his in a very specific location.
Yeah, and so, okay, where is that observer? It was with the army. It doesn't appear to be... Oh, there it is. It is with the army, indeed. But remember, Hurricane is on 2 bases. Zoun is on 3. This is definitely an attack that needs to do a lot of damage from Hurricane, or else Zoun is going to really run away with this game. He's up 6 workers, which is probably like pretty much the right way. In fact, I would even say that the ideal amount of workers to be up right now for Zoun is 0, and to just have that third base as the insurance for when he wins the overall fight. But he does have a lot of charge lots. He actually has more army supply right now, and Stalkers are not that great against charge lots, so I think Zoun could do really well.
But here we are, the cheeky backstab. Oh, did he block it in the weapon?
That is so many charges moving forward. Oh my goodness, I think Hurricane's attack is just going to get absolutely destroyed here. The DT's doing their work though, but all of the tech units are dead. The observer's down, so this is not going to finish it right now, but a few Blink Stalkers and a few DTs are not going to do the trick. Another observer on the way, but oh well, actually he does have an observer. Zoun does have an observer. It's at the natural. He hasn't lost any workers, but these DTs are doing so much damage. But at the same time, Hurricane doesn't have an army left. I'd say overall, Hurricane is held. I mean, Zoun is held. 7 more Stalkers coming up for Hurricane. That is not what you want at this stage of the game.
No. Do you think maybe he's using Blink to specifically snipe the observers and then use the DTs to... Oh no, he's making Archons. Okay. You
That would have
ruined
been an interesting
Archon for
move,
me.
actually.
I just want you to know. You've ruined the word for me. I can't
You'll never
believe
hear it the
this.
same way again.
I used to think Archon. It's a strong, it's a bold, and now I just see Archon. I'm just like, God damn it.
That's what I do. I ruin StarCraft.
Pros
Alright,
players.
here we go. Hurricane going for another attack. There is a lot of Stalkers, but I don't see this really doing the trick against all these Charge-Lots, but there is some Archons, but they're just sort of like, just standing there. Apparently they are much more upset with my remark than I expected. They've decided to form a union. They will not be treated in such a manner. And here comes what may be the final fight of this game. The Archons up in front, doing their best. The Blink Stalkers being taken... Oh, and even a nice flank with the Charge Lots. The Blink Stalkers are blinking as much as they can, but there's only so much they can do against these Zealots that are charging in. But, oh, the Archons do stand strong. And has Hurricane actually done... How is this possible? How did he do this?
I mean,
I
just
don't
the
understand what
Archons,
just happened.
the cotton balls, the power.
There were just so many Blink Stalkers, and Hurricane just played it to perfection. I really thought Zoun was going to take that one, but Hurricane manages to bring it home. And now I hear it too. Damn it, you've done it to me. I've been infected by my own virus.
All you've done is hurt yourself.
That's not all I've done. I've hurt you as well. And that's the important part. If I'm going down, I'm taking everyone in this chat with me.
Oh no. I think it was actually really... I feel like that was like a premeditated plan to actually go for Blink and then try to snipe the observers. Because there was that part where Zoun had lost his observer and the Dark Templars were just going ham on his army.
Yeah, that is definitely quite possible. I certainly wouldn't put it past Hurricane, considering how well he's been playing this series. And yeah, I really thought that Zoun was in a great position, but in the end, Hurricane just too much for him. So the question now is, what on earth can Zoun do here? He's down 3-0. It's dire straits.
Yeah, no, he's got to bust out the weird and wacky. He's got to show. He's got to throw something at Hurricane that Hurricane either hasn't seen before, doesn't expect, or hasn't practiced much against. I think if you're just playing standard games, Hurricane is not even breaking a sweat.
He took a 4.5-minute third in PvP, Anansi. How much more unconventional do you want? He took a third faster than most people take their natural in this matchup.
All right, I'll tell you what. He's trying to gain bases. He should just take them away. Just one base that crap. Just get right in there.
I like it. It looks like we can have an exhibition match between the castles. Oh, not quite.
Oh no.
That's alright. God. You're better. You're more in practice than me anyway, I assume.
No.
Well, that would be interesting. Right, we're now cutting away from the NFL to watch two dads playing touch football in their front yards.
Look at their dad bods clump awkwardly against each other. All right. How do you say
one of them
this?
just tried to. So what were you saying?
How do you say this map? Because it always bugs me. Is it Ephemerion or Ephemerion?
Ephemeron.
Ephemeron. There we go. Thank you. That's definitely how you say it.
It's based on. It's like ephemeral, as in quickly disappearing, like ephemeral, like a soap bubble.
Thank you. I'll think of that next time.
Vocabulary with Salivant. All right, introductions.
In the top left, the blue Protoss. It is Hurricane.
And in the bottom left, showing that unfortunately color is not the key to victory, or at least not the only key. He is down but not out. His back is up against the wall. What will he do? It is Alpha X's Zoun.
Damn, feeling the hype.
I love StarCraft. I get hyped in every cast I do. I think that's why I keep getting asked to do them.
Fair enough. I got the lax attitude. You know, I'm just like, it's cool, man. It's StarCraft. Come friends, come all. We'll watch some games. It'll be cool.
No, I shout, I cheer, I stand up and pace. I'm very animated with these things.
Where are you from, by the way, man?
Australia.
Australia. Oh, okay. Interesting.
Originally from New South Wales, moved up to Brisbane for work.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell your accent. You're, of course, from New Zealand.
Yep, you got me. I was like, oh, you know, excited, like, oh, you must be like American, like Aussie. I'm like, ooh, the bitter rivalry. All right, both probes suspiciously on the right-hand side.
It is a bit of rivalry, but it is no match for the love of StarCraft that we both share. And oh, it looks like we might see some proxies from both sides here. This pylon from Zoun is in a very unusual place in that it could be a fake, it could be a real proxy. But since that probe's staying there, I think they are both. One or both are proxying. I think Hurricane's going for the fake proxy and Zoun's going for the real proxy again. We'll have to see what it is. Another proxy Stargate. So this one is actually pretty funny because this Oracle could actually be spotted by the fake pylon of Hurricane as it goes across the map if it's not spotted by the probe first.
Do you think maybe that was the intention? Like, this is a very specific pylon location.
No, I don't think so. I think it was just designed to be well hidden because people think that hiding on the edges is often the best way to play, but it's not about, you know, how likely it is to be seen by a random unit passing by. It's about how likely it is to be spotted by your opponent's scouting patterns. I've won so many games, but it's putting my proxies in places where it feels more exposed because the opponent doesn't check there.
Right. That when your opponent thinks you're hiding something, they're gonna look at the far corners. Where would they hide something? Where's a hidden location? And they might miss them.
If it were me, where would I put it? I would put it, you know, in the corner with as little surface area to expose as possible, and that's where they look. So it's actually, in a way, the least effective place to hide it.
Hiding in plain sight, right in the middle of the map.
Exactly. And you can see, you know, with all the moves, and this is a pretty well-planned one, with all the moves Zoun is doing, he's not spotted this fake pylon. But he is sending the Oracle in a different situation, but the hallucinated Phoenix gets it, and it's even going to scout the Stargate as well. Oh, this is just... I'm not sure if Hurricane is just out mind-gaming Zoun, or if his Zoun is just getting some bad luck, but he's going to wait for the two Oracles, and he's going to go in. There is no shield battery, there's a couple of Stalkers and a couple of Sentries, but two Oracles can really get a lot of damage done really fast. And here come four Adepts. Oh, this is really committed from Zoun here.
Yeah,
he's forcing several of the Stalkers to come down to defend against the Adepts, and then he's gonna try and find some damage somewhere, but the Observer sees it. Again, the Observers from Hurricane, just brilliant. Two Oracles and four Adepts find nothing. How often do you say that?
Yeah, I mean...
But they are going across to the main.
There's nothing valuable to hit till right now. There's two.
Here we go.
Three
probes. Not exactly what he wanted. Oh, and he's going to lose an Oracle too.
Oh, no.
Oh, is he going to lose both? Yes, he does. He loses both. Hurricane with the flank. Oh my goodness. This is just getting worse and worse for Zoun. I think Hurricane smells blood in the water here, and he might just go out for an attack.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? You've lost two Oracles. How are you going to stop them? But I guess there are still four Adepts out on the map, so unless you can deal with them, you won't be able to get much done, but they are being dealt with. There's enough Stalkers to fight them on both fronts, wherever they choose to land, and they are trying to, you know, get away, but their footsteps are just being dogged by these Stalkers wherever they try and run, and as soon as these Adepts have been cleaned up, Hurricane will have nothing stopping him from going out on an all-out attack.
Wow, I mean, I just watching Hurricane's army movement, like, we both thinking, like, yeah, he's definitely going to go across the map and try to kill Zoun, and that's obviously what Zoun's thinking, so he's trying to jump back in with the Adepts. But Hurricane, knowing that Zoun is going to try and counterattack him with the Adepts, move his units in a way to try and catch them. It's just like, the level of mind games right now between these two very good players is scary.
This would be impressive enough if it was just two armies moving around, but the Adepts are essentially in two places at once, and yes. Hurricane is defending both of them pretty much flawlessly, but there is an Immortal and a shield battery up for Zoun. So, but these shield batteries could very easily tear this army apart. So this is going to come down a lot to positioning and force fields. Can this Immortal get the shots in and stay alive? I'd like to see a couple of Zealots from Hurricane, actually, just to soak up that Immortal fire. But the Immortals are being force fielded away from the rest of the army, well, the Immortal is, to prevent it from actually firing. But there is a Warp Prism out for both sides now, but Zoun's Warp Prism is going to be extremely vulnerable because of just how many Stalkers his opponent has. And here comes the fight. The fake blink with the Warp Prism is coming in. Zoun is forced to pull probes, and he already doesn't have that many to lose, but the Immortal is doing tremendous damage, so I think that Zoun will hold this. He's got 2 Immortals now, so yeah, he will hold this, definitely. He's even got the Warp Prism. He has lost a lot of probes, so he's gonna... Oh, good force field from Zoun.
Yeah.
He's gonna need to go across the map and get some damage done, but in the meantime, the first Immortal is about to be done for Hurricane, and I would not be surprised to see him just as aware of the game state, if not much more so than us, going to throw down a couple of shield batteries pretty soon, unless he thinks he can hold without them.
Yeah, I love the 2 Immortals and the Warp Prism. Like, it's just one of those kind of... Well, it's not a low commitment, it's like a mid commitment, but just high reward kind of play. Oh, actually, no, it's just going to go for the attack.
Hurricane has 4 Stalkers and a Warp Prism on the other side of the map. He has no Warp Prism here. He doesn't have any shield batteries here. This could actually really hurt Hurricane, who's not really prepared for this. He's even sending Stalkers into the main base. If he could force field this out, this could be absolutely huge. This is his moment. This is Zoun's chance to attack while the army is cut in thirds. He's getting a recall, but that's still only the part of it. He needs to force field that ramp.
Yeah,
but he doesn't.
The shield battery.
The rest of Zoun's army come back to defend, and I think that Zoun's chance is gone. He really definitely had a shot there, but not quite able to capitalize on that. And there are Stalkers in this Warp Prism Hurricane, which means that they can actually attack just like this, exactly. So a bit of a missed micro Hurricane, he does lose a Stalker, and Zoun is going to drop these Immortals and do their damage, and he's going to snipe this pylon as well, perhaps. He's doing quite well, but at the same time, Hurricane's up 20 supply. It's looking like a disturbingly familiar scene as... Overall, Hurricane just faster and better and defending everything that Zoun throws him.
He just seems to have like just that little bit of an edge on every single engagement. And it's not much. It's like just like 1, 2, maybe 5% better. Just hit that little bit of better micro here. Just a little bit of better army positioning here. Just a bit of better scouting. And it just slowly adding up more and more and more. The longer the game goes on, it's these consistencies that are building up.
Absolutely, and I did expect something like this. I just didn't expect it to be so decisive in these games. I definitely expected Zoun to sneak a few out, but I did expect Hurricane to win the more standard games in a fashion like this. Ooh, third base does get denied with this Immortal Warp Prism. While in the meantime, the Immortal Warp Prism is actually going to do the same thing on the other side of the map. This is such an mirrored game, and he does get that pylon, which is very nice, but at the same time, and a bunch of Stalkers from Zoun actually pushes that Warp Prism away and deals quite a bit of damage to it. Very nice defense from both players so far, but oh, the Stalkers are out of position, and now I think the same pylon is going to get killed on the other side of the map. This really is like the most mirror of mirrors. Like, they're both doing the exact same moves with the exact same results almost.
Do you think there's almost something to be said for like using the Warp Prism to like...
the blink! I didn't know he had blink!
Oh my god, what?
He kills the Warp Prism and 2 Immortals!
What? When did that happen?
He fooled us. We are omniscient in this game, and somehow Zoun snuck blink out from under our nose. That is one of the sneakiest things I've ever seen.
Oh
and
my
now,
god.
this is Zoun's chance.
I wasn't even looking, and we have full map vision.
I saw the Prism die, but I didn't know he had blink to actually kill it. Okay, and Hurricane, his army is not that great compared to Zoun's, I think. There's a lot of Stalkers, there's 4 Immortals, there's 6 Sentries and a bunch of Stalkers against some Zealots without charge yet. Some Sentries, the blink is going to mean that the Force Field do nothing! Oh, I think Zoun might actually get it 1 up on the board. Now he's up 20 supply, he's pushing forwards, he's waiting for the Force Fields to end. There is 1 Archon for Hurricane. But even then, I just don't see how much that's going to do. Even at building Adepts, because they are better than Chargers without the charge. The third is forced to be cancelled from Hurricane, but at the same, he's going for the natural. He doesn't care about the third. He's up 20 army supply, more units being made, more Archons being formed. There needs to be a decisive engagement before that happens. The Archon being brought back by Hurricane. There's just so much. The Archons are getting their concave, which is so important. The Chargelots are now coming in, but at the same time, Zoun just has such overwhelming numbers. GG is called. Zoun gets 1 up on the board.
Wow, Zoun, he sees, wait a minute, my army is so much bigger than yours. I know I just killed 2 Immortals. I know I can just go across the map. He was even using Blink to snipe the sentries, just to deny like force fields, guardian shields, that sort of thing.
It was that snipe on the Warp Prism that definitely turned that game around. Without that, it's not just having 2 Immortals less in the fight. It's about Zoun needing to leave like 6 to 8 stalkers behind to defend against that immortal drop, which would have made the difference. And then Hurricane could have just recalled the Warp Prism back if he needed to defend, and suddenly Zoun's like 12, 16 supply less in the actual fight, which definitely could have turned the tide. It was a beautiful snipe from Zoun. He definitely held that blink for the exact right moment.
It's funny you say that with the Warp Prism, where it has that ability to force a certain contingent to stay at home. I mean, you can't commit your entire army because all of a sudden I just warp in Adepts or Zealots into your base and just wreak absolute havoc.
Exactly. That is the big thing that the Warp Prism does. Even more so than the damage, it is the threat of the damage. It is what it forces you to do to defend. Either you defend well enough, but you're forced to put resources into that, or you don't defend well enough and you risk taking damage.
Yeah. Or, I mean, all the risk is that you have 2 immortals and a Warp Prism on the other side of the map, and if you chose to go for the damage and don't recall them, and you do lose on your side of the map, then you do look like a bit of a fool. But I don't think Hurricane's going to be making those mistakes.
Well, I'm very glad we did not get a 5-0 in this series. That would have been rather anticlimactic. I'm glad Zoun has been able to take a map, and let's see if he can do it again.
Yeah,
we have a series, ladies and gentlemen.
It was a good game. I think Protoss seems to be, like, PvP really seems to be about capitalizing little leads like that. I mean, you just, like, you like you said earlier in the series, like, your units are so expensive, they're so powerful, if you lose one, you're in a lot of trouble.
Exactly.
Alright, both players are ready to go. Let's jump on in.
And because of the Warp Prism, because the ability to at least partially get rid of Defender's advantage, it still exists in the form of tech units and later on and shield batteries early on. But the Defender's advantage is a lot less in PvP than it is in other matchups, so you really can make use of those small edges to win games that when in other matchups you would have been forced to just take another base and keep going and get more ahead.
Can you remind me, are we, it's 3-1, right?
3-1 to Hurricane, that's right.
That's my biggest caster's sin, is I always forget the score.
That's right, I gotcha.
Thanks.
Introduction.
In the top right-hand corner, the blue Protoss, it is Zoun.
And in the bottom left, having lost faith in the blue and gone back to the red, which he is so far undefeated with this series, looking to bring it to an ace, it is Bravestar Gaming's Hurricane.
Wait, is it Bravestar or Gravestar?
Bravestar.
Bravestar.
BSG.
Gravestar would be pretty cool name.
Brave and courageous. Oh yes, Gravestar would be. But then you got GSG, which is not quite as good as BSG, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know, BSG just sounds cool to me.
Like, it's initials for, like, was like Battlestar Galactica. Did you ever see that?
I haven't, though my partner is trying to get me into it.
It's a good series, good series. I saw, like, it was like the genre listing for it, and it's just like sci-fi, theology, philosophy. I'm like, yes! All of these things. Give it to me. Right, I mean, well, Zoun...
You're making a good argument.
He's been proxying every single game in the series, no?
No, he's been fake proxying a couple of them, but he's always put that second pylon outside of his base, but he hasn't always actually built a building there.
Okay.
And I think this is going to be one of those, because he's sending the probe away, and he also hasn't built the probe the pylon that far out.
Okay.
So he's always proxied the pylon, but it hasn't always turned into a full-on proxy.
Because he's done, was it 2 or 3 Stargate openers? Done a few.
I don't remember exactly. At least 2, I think.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think he's gone for proxy Stargate twice. Yeah, he's gone for proxy Stargate twice, Robo opening once, and I think regular Stargate once.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure exactly what he did in the last one, but he's definitely proxy Stargated twice this series so far.
Yeah. I wonder how much, like, Hurricane is, like, kind of recalibrating to that sort of thing. Like, this guy really likes his proxies. Like, because he's starting to mix things up. I mean, he does like to go for his Robo, just to, like, that consistency play, right?
Yeah, and we'll see if he decides to do the same thing again. He's going for the Stalker Sentry, which is a very defensive sort of play.
Yep. I mean, there is almost something to be said for that sort of mentality, where it's just like, if I feel like I'm the stronger...
Twilight Council.
Oh, wow, yeah, it is. DT, maybe?
As you were saying, if you think you're the stronger player, just, you know, you can just play defensive and make it your
Exactly.
opponent's problem to win.
Force
But
your
in
opponent to make the
PvP, that
mistakes.
doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
There's so many different options that you can do, and no one build really defends against everything well in PvP.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well PvP is so much more about kind of the timing orientated and the information, right?
I think we are going to see a Dark Shrine.
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah, definitely. That probe is right there. Yes, we do. And we have a Twilight counter from Zoun. That is the absolute worst thing you can make against DTs.
Yeah, that's not good.
Ooh. And Hurricane sees this. Oh, actually, did he see it? He turned around yeah, he sees it. He sees the Twilight Council, confirms it. And so he's going to know he's in a good position, though he might need to... He's going to need a Robo to prepare for DTs of his own. We'll see if Zoun, he who disdains the Robo, decides to actually make one of his own. We might even see... No, we are going to see Blink. I was going to say we might see a Dark Shrine of Zoun's own, which would make things get really crazy.
Yeah.
But not in this case. So it is going to be Blink versus DTs, and when you blink, your eyes are closed, and when your eyes are closed, you cannot see.
Exactly, and
It just makes it even worse.
when the whole world is blind, the man with the one eye is king. At the moment, neither of them have eyes. neither of them have observers.
Yep.
Oh, actually, I mean, he's never going to do it.
I guess a better phrase in this case would be, in the land of the blind, the person who can walk without seeing is king. No, can walk without. The person who can walk without making sounds. The person who can walk soundlessly and thus sneak everywhere they want.
I don't know. Walking without seeing, that's a special talent right there.
It is a special talent, and one that I guess is also very important in a world of blind people.
Right.
But the point is, I said blind people. But we are going to see these two DTs coming in. I'm guessing one's going to go to the main, one's going to go to the natural, and I think this is actually this game. There is no Robo, there is no detection at all. He's only now just getting cannons. Oh, he's actually blocking off his ramp. But yes, he's blocking off his ramp. He knows these are there, but he's still going to take so much damage in the meantime. He snipes a sentry. He's going to snipe more probes. He's going to snipe more sentries and force the force fields to no longer be there. He's getting one more force field on top of his ramp, but he's going to lose every sentry, and then he's just going to back away and get another probe. So, actually, that was actually a really good defense from Zoun. I would have thought the game was going to just straight up end at that moment, but it did not, and Zoun will continue to play this game at a slight disadvantage. But with no sentries, I could definitely see a Blink Archon style attack killing Zoun at this point.
Yeah, I mean, killing the sentries is a big deal, because part of their strength is they sit there, they build up energy, you can use force fields, guardian shield, so not having them and having to replace them, you're spending gas that would otherwise go to more useful units, like Immortals, or, not at this stage, but later on with the Archons, right?
Exactly, and we will have an Archon up for Hurricane, as he's going to fight a Stalker versus Stalker battle, but with the Archon at the front to soak shots and do damage. And we are going to see the Guardian shields up from both sides. As probes are being pulled off the line from Zoun, he's taking this very seriously. It will be Blink versus Blink in the Battle of the Century. And this Archon is just taking... Oh, it's tanking so many shots, but it does go down in the end. A lot of wounded Stalkers on both sides. It's going to come down to Micropalooza, but in the end, Zoun has enough and takes out a Stalker on the way back. But at the same time, he's lost 17 workers that he had to pull to make this work. And I don't think that I think Hurricane is going to be just fine because he's got enough. Oh, he's actually just blinking on top of these Stalkers.
Oh my
he has
God.
18 more workers and he's forcing Zoun back. So I think this is going to be a 4-1 very quickly.
Yeah, it's not looking good. It's not looking good at all. I mean, Hurricane's got a bit of...
Yeah. If you're ahead on army, you can make it work. If you're ahead on economy, you can make it work. But if you're behind in both, there's very little you can do to get back into the game. You've got to have some sort of advantage relative to your opponent, even if overall your position is weaker.
Yeah, I think Zoun's going to just see this, and if he doesn't win this fight, he might just tap out. Just knowing, like, hey, you're not only up on workers, but also up a base.
Exactly. It is definitely not looking good for Zoun here. So Zoun's, like, forcing his opponent back, but he's not really able to do much. He does know about the third base, sorry.
I mean, there's just no ground to be won at this point. He's kind of just swatting at thin air. The Zealots are going to be spell doomed for this army. Yeah,
so he doesn't have charge yet, but at the same time, there's just so much that it doesn't really matter. there's just going to be enough to fight this back, and then once charge finishes, I think that that's going to be the game.
Oof. It's an offensive blink, but at this point, Hurricane, when you're this far ahead, any trade is a good trade.
Exactly. Even trades are good. Slightly behind trades are fine. Hurricane's mining like 30% more, and he's got the better tech. He's got charge now, which is pretty much going to spell doom for this army, which is literally just blink stalkers and a sentry.
Yeah.
He
Nice.
does snipe an immortal though, which is good for Zoun. I guess he's going to go for a base trade, but even then, charge lot's kind of better for killing buildings than blink stalkers are. So Hurricane's going to get into the base of Zoun. Zoun's going to get into the third base of Hurricane. Hurricane, we'll see what he wants to do. Actually, Zoun does have one observer, so the DTs aren't going to do anything, and that's actually a lot of money that Hurricane has spent on the defense by trying to warp in DTs and hoping for the immediate win that way. But at the same time, Zoun has lost basically all of his probes. He's not going to be able to send probes out to do something. Does he have a probe out on the map anywhere? Does Zoun? I'm not sure where his 6 probes are. Meanwhile, Zoun is actually being fought back at the natural of Hurricane. Hurricane is actually trying to hold on to his natural, and we'll see if he manages to do it. He's recalled most of his units. He's pulling his own probes, and the Warp Prism is going to get sniped down. But are there enough Blink Stalkers for Zoun? Has Hurricane actually somewhat miscalculated this?
Yeah, I mean, he had Zoun had the large army supply.
Yeah, because there's only a few charge lots left. They're never going to win this base trade in time. I think Hurricane might have actually snatched defeat from the jaws of victory here. He is going to lose his Warp Prism as well. There's only a few Stalkers left. They are going to get taken down. There's not many Stalkers for Zoun, and every single Stalker is precious, but he just blinks on top of him. And there's no army left for Hurricane, and all of a sudden, he's got 6 army supply to 23. And I think Zoun might actually take this game.
Yep, he's going to unpower all the buildings.
Yes, GG, Zoun.
Damn.
Wow. You can never tell who's going to win in this one. In Game 3, I thought Hurricane was dead, and then he came back and won. In Game 5, I thought that there was no way Zoun could win, and then he did. And it is now 3-2 to Hurricane. It is very close to an even series.
We should just never throw him under the bus. I'm just saying.
Shouldn't throw either of these players under the bus. They're both very resilient players.
Yes, they are. It was like wait a minute, when he's actually taking the fight, or like saw the army supply. I'm like, wait a minute, 47 to 25, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Zoun's only got Blink Stalkers, but if you've got enough Blink Stalkers, that's all you need, and a very good micro, no less. He had so many red and orange Stalkers at the end of that.
Yeah, even like when not to blink is also really important, because when you're blinking, there's a moment that you're taking away DPS from your army. Like, he's actually not like, I will just hold my ground and shoot you.
There's also the issue of you need to make sure that your front line can always blink away, and there's a blink and there's a 10-second blink thing. So if you start blinking your units back the second they take damage, after like a few seconds, you run out of blinks. Your back line retreats back, your front line is now exposed, and you start losing stalkers. You've really got to space those out properly.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to jump into Eternal Empire, and the score is now 3-2.
3-2 to Hurricane, that's right.
He's fighting back. He's finding a way.
I think Troll's good. I just need to focus
on
picking my lane a little bit.
You've got some sound in your background, Anansi. Seems better now. There was just another voice.
There we go. Cool. All right, here we are. Slowly evening up the score. In the top right-hand corner, the red Protoss representing Alpha X. It is Zoun.
And in the bottom left, losing with his dominant color. He was up 3-0. Now all of a sudden the series is almost even. Can he rally? Can he bring it back? It is Brave Star Gaming's Hurricane.
You know, is he a brave star, or is he about to be a grave star? We're about to find out.
Very nice. So it's interesting in that Hurricane, even though Zoun's down a game, he might actually have the mental advantage right now. Because Hurricane probably basically thought, okay, I've basically got this series won, there's nothing Zoun can do, and then Zoun comes back with 2 games in a row, suddenly his confidence is good, and Hurricane, who was looking like, you know, an early knight to go grab some early shut-eye or something, is now looking to be fighting for his life in this series.
Yeah. And it's the way that Zoun is winning the series as well. I mean, Hurricane is winning the games that are straight up, that are standard, that are about big army fight big army. But Zoun is like he's embracing the wacky and the weird and the all in. And those sorts of games where you play them and you're just sweating, you don't know what to do. Zoun seems to be really comfortable in that sort of style, that sort of game, that sort of base trade. He seemed to know exactly what to do.
I just want to also remind everyone that Zoun won that game when Hurricane had DTs on the map and Zoun had nothing for detection but a forge with no cannons.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, I'm gonna be idiot if I say this. He's gonna build a cannon and he's gonna be safe, and then he does, and he is, and I'm like, I shouldn't doubt myself so much.
Never doubt yourself, Anansi.
That's a lie.
Yeah, you're right.
I appreciate the sentiment, though.
Occasionally doubt yourself, Anansi.
That's some words to live by. I'll put that on my wall. 2020. Occasionally doubt yourself. All right. Well, adepts for both players. What is this like? Do adepts mean aggression? Or is it like more scouting? So get me into the mind of like a Protoss opener. Like, when do you go Depths, when do you go Stalkers?
Alright, so Stalkers do tend to be the more... It's weird because Stalkers tend to be either very defensive or very offensive, because you can either put pressure on them with 4 Stalkers or you can just sort of hold on them at home. They're generally more solid units. The Protoss who goes Adepts is generally trying to make something happen.
Yep.
Stargates are very common off of Adepts, as we just see with these 2 Stargates. Like, at low levels, you can practically assume that if they go Adept, they're going to follow up with Stargate behind it. You can basically blindly predict that. At higher levels, not so much, but it's still a percentage move. Generally, it means you want to play a harassment-focused opening. You want to be on the opponent's side of the map doing stuff. And that's something that Adepts do a lot better than Stalkers do.
So it's not necessarily just scouting. It's usually, I want to deal damage of some kind.
Yes.
Okay.
You can't always get damage done, but yeah, it's not just for the purposes of scouting. Now, at this level of PvP, I'm not as sure. I'm, just a lowly master myself. So there's probably a lot more that goes into it at this stage of the game that I don't know. But in general, yeah, you don't have to just be going for aggression, although it looks like Hurricane probably is, considering the positioning of that pylon.
I was low-key wondering, are we going to see a 4-gate this series? And now it's going to be a Stargate, but I mean, it's the same kind of principle, right?
Yeah, I don't think people really do 4 gates anymore, but 3-gate Robo or 3-gate Stargate is like kind of like the more aggressive thing these days.
Okay.
3-gate Robo has been pretty popular, but seems to have fallen off lately. People seem to have understood how to defend it. And that Adept will stop that probe getting in and seeing what's going on. The Stargate will be making an Oracle, and it's actually going to spot this gateway. Ooh, that's very lucky.
Oh, yes.
But Hurricane is making Phoenixes, so he knows, the tech choice of his opponent, and Zoun is actually making a Void Ray to defend. I actually really like this.
Yeah.
If he can, with some shield batteries, Void Rays can take a decent amount of punishment and can deal a decent amount of damage to Stalkers. It's usually not a good idea, but when you've got a Stargate and you're facing a lot of units from your opponent, it often can be a solid move. And since since Hurricane's actually pretty low on Stalkers, this could prove to be quite a strong move. But this Oracle, it's going to start to snipe away, but there is a shield battery and 2 Phoenixes, so this is not going to do much. The question is, can Zoun save his Nexus? He does cancel this shield battery. He wants to try and save it, but he needs to wait for this Void Ray to pop. He needs to wait for the exact right moment to go down and engage, and he will have a Guardian Shield, but he's forced back by the Adepts, and what's he going to do? Will the Adepts finish? They don't, but now the Nexus is going to go down. Hurricane has bought enough time to take out the Nexus for Zoun, and suddenly that puts Hurricane in a solid position.
Definitely hurts losing the Nexus, but it doesn't hurt nearly as much of, oh, I just lost the game because some Adepts went in my mineral line and killed me.
Exactly. So Phoenix Adept, still going to be the choice of the day. Going to try and take out this gateway, just do as much damage as they can. Oh, beautiful force field. Will take out an Adept. Sentry, not quite. Oh, but the Void Ray actually gets sniped by the Phoenixes, and Hurricane is doing extremely well here. He's somehow fighting on the low ground against shield batteries and winning. He's now lifting up, he's lifting up like half the army of Zoun. I think this might actually just be too much. second shield battery finishes, but I think it's just a bit too late. A good force field, but again, the Phoenix is just doing so much, lifting up these units. They are so good in these tiny little small engagements with only a few units on either side, just lifting up units and denying their DPS as well as making them unable to move away. Stalkers are incredibly microable units. When they can't move, they lose a lot of their effectiveness, and Hurricane will be taking game number 6.
Yeah, there's no recovery from that. It's quite a shame that he lost the Void Ray before the shield battery's finished, because that's where the Void Ray shines. If it can just sit there and fire its laser, the Void Ray's not that bad of a unit. It's still not a great unit, but if it means I don't die, then I'll take it. I'll take the Void Ray.
Exactly. But as it is, with the Phoenixes, with the Stalkers, and with the shield battery coming up just a little bit too late, it did not pay off for Zoun in this case. So generally, when you're making a Void Ray, you know you're in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah. It's more one of those units where you don't really want to make it, but it's like a please don't kill me unit.
So now is the time to mention, this is a best of 9, and we have 7 maps in the pool, which means that after this map, it is again loser's choice for the maps, but we will be opening the entire pool up again.
Okay.
Which means it is a bit of an uphill battle for Zoun, because not only does he have to win this game, but then he has to win at the next 2 on any 2 maps of Zoun's choice. I mean, of Hurricane's choice, because if Hurricane will get to pick every map now until the rest of the series, because if he wins a game, it's all over.
Do you think there might be like a certain kind of meta with that, where it's like, does Hurricane, well, if Hurricane wins the next map, and that situation does get caused, is it where Hurricane goes for the maps that he's most comfortable with, or does he try to go for the maps where he can punish Zoun the most?
That is the question. I think a lot of it's going to come down to how familiar Hurricane is with Zoun's style overall.
Right. Because both these players are going to be kind of downloading each other. They're going to be looking for certain ways to exploit the other.
Exactly, but maps, I think it's more likely that Hurricane will be thinking in terms of strategies rather than maps, and then pick whichever map is best. And he might be thinking of a strategy that will hurt Zoun, but I think it takes a lot more games than that to actually see which maps your opponent is more and less comfortable. You definitely need like stats and such for that. And I don't mean the player, I mean statistics.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. But here we are in the game number, 7 now, in the bottom right-hand corner. The red Protoss, it is Hurricane.
And in the upper left, representing the blue, representing Alpha X, on the verge of elimination, can he bring it back? It is Zoun. So yes, it will be interesting to see if Hurricane wants to go for the sort of like his best strategies in games 8 and 9 if they happen, or if he wants to go for ideally Zoun's worst strategies.
Okay.
Because like you said, those are sort of the 2 ways to play it out, and that is one thing I like about StarCraft. I like competitive games that are interactive.
Yep. There's kind of like a lot of decision making that you have before the game, but StarCraft's really interesting where there's a lot of room for adaptation during the game.
Exactly. It is a real-time strategy game, and while real-time might be the important part of that, considering how important mechanics are, the strategy part absolutely does play a part, especially when both players' mechanics are fairly good. And let's face it, everyone at this level has strong mechanics, even if there is still a room for you to distinguish yourself by your mechanics, even at the very highest levels of StarCraft 2. Yeah. Which is pretty amazing now that you think about it.
Yeah. Like, there's still an element of, I went for this strategy and my opponent went for that strategy, and his strategy just compares better than mine in this sort of situation. But the better player can kind of twist it, you know, they can make certain little adjustments to their build, where it's not just a blind counter. Like we saw, like the Dark Templar rush that Hurricane did, which is really smart for Zoun, because Zoun doesn't like making a fast robo. Like, that's a very clever build order. But Zoun was able to make the adjustment where he had the Forge, and you could use that for the detection, and the sentries to buy time for force fields.
Yeah, and that was really well done. Okay, so Hurricane will deny scouting from Zoun, and he's going to go for a very fast proxy Stargate and a very aggressively placed proxy Stargate. This is pretty much as close as you can get, while Zoun's going for the fake proxy once again.
Yeah,
So
no.
Zoun is going to go out and try and see what he can see with these stalkers. And this is one of those positions where this is actually the obvious spot to put a proxy. So if Zoun looks that way, oh, this could actually be really huge. I think he might scout it, and he sees it. He could actually get this pylon potentially before the before the Stargate comes out. But the two stalkers of Hurricane will come to contest. But there are two more stalkers from Zoun that will also do their thing. So we'll have to see what happens right here. These two stalkers are going to get the first shots off against Zoun's stalkers. So Zoun has to run away. We'll lose a stalker, but there are two more stalkers on the way. But more importantly, this is buying time for the Oracle to come out. If this pylon doesn't go down in time, this could be quite bad for Hurricane because he won't have units to defend. He's getting a shield battery, but he's getting it just now. And this Adept, this Oracle is going to come out just in time, I think. Oh, it's going to be so close. He chrono boosted at the last second and gets it out with just a few seconds to spare. And even loses a Stalker, does Zoun, as he tries to get this. There's one Stalker to defend, another one in the main now. So these Oracle won't get a ton of damage, but at the same time, I think Hurricane has definitely paid for itself with this opening, even though he's only gotten two Stalkers. Two probes, he's gotten two Stalkers as well. And now it's going to be 4 Stalkers against 3 as a Robo and a third gate comes up, as he realizes that he definitely needs something right now to get the advantage. He might even have to pull probes here. Actually, you saw him sort of twitch his probes a little bit as he was about to pull them, but then more Stalkers came up. And we're not going to see another Oracle, though, because the Stargate was denied, so there is that. And overall, it looks like the game will normalize with a slight advantage for Hurricane, perhaps, although the 2 workers are going to get cut away pretty quickly because Hurricane's base is not quite finished. So this could be a relatively neutral position, actually, but the Oracle's going to come in and it's going to get at least one, maybe a couple of probes at the natural. Good defense from Zoun. Good reaction times.
Yeah, no,
I guess the Twilight Council proxied at the fake proxy place, which is not a fake proxy place. I love PvP!
Yeah,
I think we're going to see a Dark Shrine here. Why else would you proxy this Twilight Council? There it is, the proxy Dark Shrine.
It has to be a Dark Shrine. I mean, the game has gotten really weird, and Zoun is just like, you know what? I'm not going to play a macro game. What, do I look silly to you? He's going to go to his stream.
And Zoun knows that the Stargate is not active. There's only one Oracle, or there is already a Robo out for Hurricane. But he is getting an Immortal first. He's not suspecting DTs. We'll see if he makes a second Immortal, or if he goes for an Observer. And now he's going for an Observer. So there will be an Observer in time against these DTs, but we are getting Blink from Zoun as well. We might see Zoun take a play out of Hurricane's playbook and just hope there's only one Observer and try and blink in and snipe it. And now, Hurricane is a very good player, so there is an excellent chance that with what he's noticed of this natural, he might be starting to suspect there is more to this than meets the eye. There is no Forge, there is no Twilight, what's going on?
Yeah.
So it is also possible that it could have been outside of the range of the hallucination, which is why he's sending in the Oracle. He's trying to get get the scout. He's scouting around the natural where he suspects tech might be. He's not seeing anything. Now his alarm bells are starting to ring. He's thinking, okay, you should have more than this. He's going to get a stasis ward at the third base just to make sure that Zoun doesn't expand, and but he's thinking, okay, Zoun's on 2 bases. I want to know how long he's on 2 bases for, because he's definitely doing something at me. I just don't know exactly what, and thus he throws down all these gateways.
Yeah. No, he doesn't. Yeah, he's got the detection in the front. The thing is, like, the lack of information is information in itself. So, to Hurricane, despite not seeing anything, he knows what's up.
One thing that I read once a few years ago, which really described a lot, is that you don't scout builds. You scout what aren't builds. And then when you run out of everything to eliminate and you've got one item left, that's the item that's the thing that you're seeing. For instance, in ZVZ, if you don't spot I guess ZVZ isn't quite as good because there's only so many builds you can do, but for instance, against Terran, you can scout
will have something to say about that.
a fast factory and a fast starport, right? That can mean a fair few different builds, but what's more important is what you're not facing. You're not facing a 3-rack stim.
Yeah.
And then you see the tanks coming out of the factory, and you see the Banshees coming out of the starport, and suddenly the only thing they can be going for is Marine Tank Banshee.
Yeah.
Whereas with Zerg, their tech buildings tend to be a lot more all or nothing. Like if you see a Spire, it's not really about eliminating possibilities. You pretty much know what's coming your way.
Yeah, no, I think, that makes quite a lot of sense. I think what can tend to happen is when you're not sure what your opponent's doing, and you're like, I think he's doing this, I think he's doing that, and you're not sure, you're getting yourself confused, and you can almost, I can find myself get quite frustrated by that. But it makes sense to almost eliminate strategies more than it does to try to pinpoint exactly what they're trying to do. Because what if they're not even doing like a meta build? What if they're just kind of like freestyling it?
Exactly. Okay, so it looks like we are going to see an attack, or at least a poke, coming out of Hurricane. He's got 3 Archons, which is a very respectable amount, although Zoun has the same amount. A few more Stalkers, yeah, Blink Stalkers from Zoun, whereas Hurricane, I don't think he has Blink on his. And a few charge lots for Hurricane. But overall, both sides are pretty similar armies, but the third base coming out at about the same time for both players. In fact, both sides very even here. The only problem is that Zoun doesn't have upgrades.
Yep.
So he kind of needs to go before +2 finishes. And +2 is very close to finishing.
Which is kind of what we were discussing earlier about, +2 being kind of that doomsday power spike that you get.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Actually, Zoun attacking now actually makes a lot of sense. If he hits before +2, then he can kind of negate that upgrade entirely. If he hits as +2 goes in, he just got blank out.
Yeah, and I think that's going to happen. I think +2 is about to finish. It's only seconds away, and by the time he's waiting for this Archon, then +2 will finish in time. But in the meantime, there are 2 Archons in the main base, and he's warping in charge lots. What is this, PvZ? We're seeing every matchup today between the fast third and now the charge lot Archon attack. But in the meantime, Zoun is coming in. He's coming forward. There is a stasis ward, which does hit. Oh, so many units from Zoun stasis away. And suddenly this is a really good position for Hurricane, though he does get his Warp Prism sniped. But there's just so many units that is going to surround Zoun on all sides, while the rest of Zoun's army is stasis and helpless and unable to fight, and that is it. GG, Hurricane will take the series 5-2. And what a series it was.
Wow, you actually called it much earlier in the series. You're like, I think we're going to get like a 5-2. I was getting kind of skeptical. I mean, Hurricane was playing really, really well. But no.
I was doubting myself, but I should only occasionally doubt myself too.
You should only occasionally doubt yourself. The year is 2020.
Trust yourself, but like not too much.
Yeah, but believe in Captain Hindsight. Awesome. Well, that was a really good series.
First don't succeed. Try again, but not a 4th time. At some point you just got to try something else.
Yeah. Wasn't there it's like either like Hindu or Buddhism where it's like if you fall over 7 times or like you fall over 6 times, the 7th time you'll get back up. So
fall over 7 times, get up 8.
Yeah, there we go. Really good. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I actually really enjoyed that. That was a pretty brutal series. I really enjoyed like the base trade, like Zoun just getting down and dirty. It's the way it should be.
Oh yeah, this is PvP at its finest, at least for the viewers. For people playing it, it can be very nerve-wracking.
Oh yeah. No, they're shaking right now, but in a good way. I mean, well, for Hurricane anyway.
And overall, Zoun did definitely make a good showing of himself. He didn't look like supremely outclassed in most of those games. Won a couple of them as well. Yep. He's definitely coming into his own as a player. And I've seen how much Australia's grown over the last 6 months. Zoun's sort of starting from about the same place that Australia is now, and that's after 6 months of focused improvement with Alpha X, which does a lot for their players. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how he's going to go at the end of the year. I wouldn't be surprised if he qualifies for a GSL this year. Maybe not this season, but the one after that or the one after. I'd put him as a serious contender.
If nothing else, it showed that he had the ability to identify a mistake and capitalize on that. So like,
exactly.
Because I mean, players are going to make mistakes. That's just natural to the game. But it's when you see a pro player not be punished for that, that's when it's like, that's when it kind of gets out of control. But Zoun is showing like, no, I can. I kill your Warp Prism and I know what to do.
I agree. You know what I like about Zoun? He didn't play scared. Yep. You get a lot of people who they play against better players and they don't really play to win. They play not to lose.
Yeah.
Zoun absolutely plays to win.
And he wasn't playing overly aggressive either. Like some players go on the other end of the spectrum, which is just like, kind of like, almost like a no regret, just like, I'm just coming at you all in. I have no intention of playing the macro game. But Zoun didn't seem too afraid of that either.
He was making good moves, not intimidated by his opponent. In the end, Hurricane just the better player for now. and well done for Hurricane. He played very well. He showed a very good, array of builds and shut down a lot of weird stuff from Zoun. And in the end, he very much richly deserved the win.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we might as well get this all wrapped up. As much as we could probably yarn all day. I'll leave all the announcements to you, Samantha. I'm just the guest today, so I don't really know what needs to be any shout outs that need to be made.
I haven't casted this series in a bit either.
Oh,
But
sorry, dude.
But there's
the bus. Get under it.
But please feel free to follow. We've got a lot of these series coming up. We've got everything from the smaller series where we have up and coming players from both foreign and Korean scenes, as well all the way up to our elite series, which has some of the best players in the world. We've had people like Stats, we've had people like TY on it. And we would also like to promote, if you guys liked this match, if you guys think the players deserve a reward for their efforts, then please do go to Matcherino. I'll have to get you to put in the link, Anansi, because
Yeah, so it's exclamation mark Matcherino on Twitch, and it's a link to the prize pool page. It's free. You just put in the code, and you add
gives you
money.
50 cents free, and the code is AXCOM37.
It's free esports money. There it is.
Exactly.
It was a myth. It was eluding us all along, but actually it's just Matcherino.
And it goes to our players directly to their pockets to allow them to continue playing this game that we all love and continue to provide us with great games.
Also, I want to shout out to Alpha X Sushi. He's also kind of like the man behind the scenes. He's kind of just doing the adminning, organizing, that sort of thing. He's the one that kind of keeps us in check. So shout out to him. He's been in the chat, which has been really cool. So thanks to Sushi.
Absolutely, he's really made Alpha X what it is.
Awesome. Well,
thank you so much. Please tune in for more Alpha X series, and we've definitely enjoyed our time here.
Absolutely. I suppose we got.
Anything else you want to say, Anansi?
Got a shout out to the sponsors. This GameStop. There's Sector 6. That is a risky thing to say with this accent. I'm just. They're a great sponsor. I'm just saying. Just us Kiwis give it a bad name. And there's the 24-hour fitness. So if those companies in your area know that they're supporting StarCraft, so they're a cool company. So hey, it's pretty cool.
That is for sure.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next time.